Tell me a story.
A long, long time ago, in a decade far, far away, the 80s. This story goes all the way back to high school for me. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to go to concerts until I reached the age of 18. So a friend of mine in school, we had a lot of classes together, hung out, Dave. He was a big Kiss fan, and he knew I wanted to go see Kiss as soon as possible. So I started looking around, and Kiss just happened to come through Detroit in the middle of summer. I couldn't go see him. As badly as I wanted to, it just wasn't going to happen. Because if I would have went, I would have been asked to move out of my house. So I looked for a Kiss date near me that I could go see after my birthday. Well, it just happened that Kiss was coming around to Port Huron on January 23rd, 1986. And I would have already turned 18. So,
I was 4.
Me and my buddy Dave, Mr. Oreo, cooked up this plan. He said, you going to go? I said, yeah, I'm going to go. I've been waiting for this. I had a full-time job going to school, and I got money to go. I'm going. I'm going to go get tickets as soon as they go on sale. And he said, well, I'm going to go with you. And I said, according to this, it's on a weekday, like a Friday. I said, I'm cutting school. Well, I'm not coming. I said, so if you're going to go with me, you're going to have to miss Friday. He was like, not a problem. He said, I'll drive. We'll leave from school. And I was like, oh, okay. If you want to drive, I'll let you. He had a Camaro. It was in better shape than my car. Because we were both 18, we had junker cars. So anyway, me and him started getting ready, and it was like a week before tickets went on sale. And somewhere in that week period, as we talked about what we was going to do and how we was going to do it, we decided that there's 2 extra seats in the back of his car. Let's buy extra tickets, sell those tickets at a slightly upgraded charge, and because me and Dave was well known and everybody knew we was huge Kiss fans, 2 tickets to go see Kiss on a Friday with Paul and Dave, that would be worth the price of admission. So we put it out to some of our friends to see if we could find somebody that would want to go. And initially, nobody really showed much interest, but we went ahead and put the money up front, and we bought 4 tickets. 1 for me, 1 for him, and then 2 that we was going to sell. One of them sold right away. I don't remember the dude's name. It was one of his friends. And we was left with 1 ticket. So as the date started to approach and our plans had been made to go on this journey to go see Kiss, we couldn't find anybody. And it was down to the last day. And finally this guy named Aaron, and we'll just leave his name at Aaron. He knows who he is. He's infamously known as Mr. Passout. So he shows up and he was like, hey, I heard you guys got a ticket, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, we got a ticket. He says, cool. He said, I want to go. I said, okay, well, we're cutting early. We're leaving Friday at noon from the school, blah, blah, blah. Be ready to go from there. Said, all right. So he paid us for the ticket. Everything was cool. January 23rd rolled around. Lunch bell rang. We all went to the car. Dave was there. I was there. The other dude was there. And here comes Aaron. He's eating a great big peanut butter cookie out of the lunchroom. And we all loaded into Dave's Camaro and took off for Port Huron. So we're driving out to Port Huron. Well, January 23rd of that particular year, it was cold. And I mean really cold. The actual outside temperature was 20 below zero. And the wind chill was pushing it into like 28 below. Really cold. So we take off for Port Huron in this freezing cold weather in a beat-down Camaro with a bunch of kids loaded in, headed for Port Huron to go see Kiss. So we start driving there, and we're all excited, and we get to the exit to get off to Port Huron, and we're driving around this town in this Camaro, and we're looking for this place, And the address is close, but all we see is factories. There's nothing but factories. And we're looking for, we're from Detroit. We're looking for a Kobo, a Joe Louis, an arena. So we're driving, and I was like, there's nothing but factories. And I said, wait, the address is just jumped. We've passed it. And he was like, that can't be possible. Well, we was getting pretty flustered, so he whips into a bank parking lot. Well, it had snowed, and the parking lot hadn't been cleared. So he tries doing a donut into the parking lot to turn around, and when he does, the car just starts sliding sideways across the parking lot. Everybody in the car is like, ah! And it's sliding sideways right towards the Huron River. And we're sliding a good 40 yards across this bank parking lot, screaming, ah! And it hit the curb, and it stopped probably 10 yards from the edge of the Huron River. And we was like, that wasn't good. Then we couldn't get enough traction to get off the curb, to get back out of the parking lot, to turn around and go back the way we had came. So anyway, we finally got out of the parking lot, got back to the road. We started driving around, and we're still looking for this place. No address, can't find it. I said, hey, there's a guard shack right there with a guy in it. Pull in there, and let's ask if he knows where this place is. Because the concert you can't even get in until 7, and it's probably 2 in the afternoon by now. And we pull into this guard shack thinking it's a factory or something. And he pulled up, and my buddy Dave rolled down the window, and he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, we're looking for the so-and-so arena. I forget what it was called. And he was like, what do you guys think, you're funny? And I was like, no, we're looking for this arena. We got tickets for a concert tonight. He was like, this is the arena. And we looked, and it's just this block building. It looked like a warehouse. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah, this is the so-and-so arena. I looked at my buddy Dave, and Dave looked at me, and I was like, okay, great, we're here. So we pull into this parking lot, and it's general admission. It was when general admission tickets still existed. First come, first serve.
Right.
By general admission, if you're the first one in line, you got front row. So that was the plan. It's now 2:30 in the afternoon. Doors don't open till 7. We sat in the car till 3. I had nothing on but a pair of jeans, a hoodie, and a leather jacket. It was the 80s. We get out, and we get in line. We're the 17th people in line. Definitely got front row. And we're like, yeah, front row for a Kiss concert. This is going to be great. Cold. Very, very cold. We're standing there, not 10 minutes.
Frozen.
Freezing. Well, at this point, Aaron, I see him rustling around in his coat pocket. And I don't know this guy just from school. And I start watching him, see what he's doing, and he turns his back to me, and I can obviously tell he's taking a hit off of a bottle. He's brought a pint of Jack Daniels. And I said, oh, this is how these things start. Is what I thought. Standing there in line, freezing.
Yeah, it's the golden rule. You don't pick up hitchhikers on the side of the road because that's how horror movies start.
Right. And pornos. Neither one end up good. So anyway, I saw him hitting it, and, I didn't want to be the wet blanket, but I leaned into him, and I said, hey, you might want to take it easy on that. It's cold out here. You don't want to thin your blood out too much. It's not going to make it easy on yourself. Yeah. Well, right about then, this other guy that we didn't know shows up. He's got a fifth of rum and 2 2-liters of Pepsi. And I'm looking at this guy, and, you got 3 hours until we're getting in. And I'm thinking, if he drinks all that Pepsi, there's no way he's going to stay in this line for 3 hours. It's just not going to happen. So we're standing there. It's cold, freezing cold. That guy dumped out half of his 2-liter Pepsi on the ground, and it froze instantly. He put what he dumped out back in with rum, and he started drinking that 2-liter. Within an hour and a half, he had that first 2-liter gone, and he was wasted.
He was gone with it.
He was wasted. Now, Aaron, our buddy, he's been hitting his bottle a few times. I've seen him hit it. But this guy, he is just staggery drunk. He can't hardly stand up. He's got snot hanging out his face. And like I said, it's just so cold you can't hardly move. My leather jacket has got cracks in it from that very day because it cracked. Got so cold. Pretty soon I start watching this guy that drank the 2-liter of Pepsi. And he walks over to the glass. It's all glass on the front. And you can see the security inside milling around, and the guy's standing against the glass, and he's looking up and down in the glass, and he sees a security guard kind of glance at him. He puts his hands on the window like a mime would, and he starts going bam, 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 bam on the glass. Well, of course, the security comes right over. They don't want you beating on the glass. It's so cold, it's going to break. The cop walks right up, the security guard walks right up to him from glass. He's on the other side of the glass. He goes, "What?" And the guy goes, "You gotta let me in." And I was like, here we go. It begins. So everybody in line, now there's probably 100 people in line. He was like, "You gotta let me in." He was like, "Nobody gets in until 7. He was like, "I gotta pee." And he was like, "It doesn't matter. Nobody gets in before the doors open." And I was just sitting there shaking my head. So they wouldn't let him in. So we're standing there watching this guy, and he dumps out half of the other 2-liter, and he puts the rest of the fifth of rum into that second 2-liter. Yeah, and I'm thinking, you got problems. You're just going to add to it now. So this guy starts drinking this 2-liter, second 2-liter, and he gets about a third of the way through it. And all of a sudden, he drops the bottle down on the ground. It hits the ground, and it falls over, runs up against the building. And at that time, he throws his head back, and he goes, "Ah!" and lets out this scream that just brought everybody's attention to him as he wets himself. You see his pants start getting wet, running down both sides of his legs, all the way down and start coming out on the ground underneath of him.
Oh, my God.
And it's steaming because it's 30 below zero, and this guy just pissed himself. So now the inside of his pants, halfway on both sides, is piss covered and steaming.
And freezing.
And everybody's just standing there, and he's kind of staggering around. And being who I am, I said, "Hey, guy," I said, "you need to go home." I said, "You've just pissed yourself in front of everybody. You're soaking wet. It's 30 degrees below zero. You're going to freeze to death out here. You're going to die. You're not going to make it home if you don't leave. Now, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm all right." I said, "Dude, not good." I said, "You need to go home." He wouldn't listen to me. So he stood there for a minute, and about the time that the steam stopped coming off of his pants, he decided that, yeah, I should go home. So he wanders away. I don't know if he ever made it home, but I saw him wander away. I'm not getting out of line. So we're standing there in the line. It's getting close to time to come in. They're getting ready to let us in. And like I said, we was about 15th, 16th, 17th in the line. We're sitting there, and it's just so cold. We haven't moved. We've just been standing in one spot trying to conserve heat, rocking back and forth like a bunch of penguins. That's what we look like, a line of penguins waiting to get in.
Get cold.
Yeah. So they start setting up the security checkpoint just inside this glass wall that we've been watching through. And 7 o'clock on the nose, they open the door. First guy walks in, and they go to frisk him, and they check him all out and frisk him, and they start on the next people, and like 4 or 5 people made it through the checkpoint, and they started down this hallway towards this, what turned out to be a hockey rink. It was a hockey rink like you'd find in the city of Westland.
Okay.
Just a small venue. It probably didn't hold 3,000 people packed. And there wasn't that many people there that night. So as these people was going down the corridor, I was moving outside in line trying to get moving because I was stiff from being in one spot.
Frozen.
Pretty much. And I noticed that these people are getting about halfway down this hallway, and they're on their hands and knees crawling. And I'm like, what are they doing? And I got to the point where I couldn't see them anymore. So I got through the checkpoint, and when I got through the checkpoint, I made it to that hallway, and the whole hallway is full of people crawling. And at the other end of the hallway, just inside the arena, they're standing back up and walking. And I thought, why are they doing this? Why are they crawling that 10 yards down this hallway? And right about then, I hit the ground. Something about being out in the cold for so long, my muscles wouldn't stand up. I couldn't get them to work right. And the best thing I could do was crawl. I didn't want to lose my place. So here I am on my hands and knees. I look back. Dave's crawling behind me. Aaron, the other dude, all crawling. Everybody that stood out in that line for 4 hours, when you hit that heat and started to move, it took you down. Finally got closer to the arena. I didn't have to crawl all the way down the hallway. I got up and made it to the front row. So there we was. Front row, Port Huron, my first Kiss concert, right in front of Gene's mic. This is heaven as far as 18-year-old me is concerned. It doesn't get any better.
I'm going to say, how old are you now?
53.
Put you in that same spot again?
Be a different story.
You wouldn't like it as much?
No.
Oh,
no. Because this story gets ready to spiral out of control here shortly. So anyway, we get inside. We sit through the opening band, King Cobra. It was a once-in-a-lifetime band that just sucked bad. There was one point in the show, since we're going to tell this story completely, we was front row, the four of us standing there, and like I said, we set up on Gene's side of the stage. So this band, King Cobra, come out, and they was known at the time. And the lead singer was a little different. And he kept grabbing himself. And me and Dave kept kind of looking at one another like, why? Just stop it. So at one point, he run right to the front of the stage, and he grabbed his crotch with both hands, and he went, yeah, and screamed. And I looked at Dave, and I just shook my head, and he's just kind of whatever. And then he ran to the far side of the stage, and he did it again. And I looked at Dave, because there's only one place left to go, right about where we was. And I looked at him. We didn't even say a word. He come running over there, and he was right in our face. He grabbed his crotch, and he went, yay! At the exact same time, me and Dave, not knowing what the other was doing, both put up our middle fingers and went, fuck you! And he just looked at us, and he was like, yeah, not going back to that side of the stage the rest of this show. So he avoided us. So anyway, King Cobra went on. They did their opening act. The whole time, I see him nipping his bottle. Well, I had brought a joint. I'm not going to see my first Kiss concert without smoking a joint.
Right.
Back in the day, you could smoke inside of arenas. It was fine. It was smoking a joint. Ain't nobody going to say anything. So anyway, we're used to big arenas, different rules. So anyway, we're sitting in between bands waiting. I pull out my joint. I get it ready. I'm going to wait till the lights go off. And my buddy Aaron sees it, and he goes, oh, I want to hit that. I said, I didn't know you smoked. And he said, well, I do, but not. And I was like, this is not a good idea. You've drank most of that pint. And if you hit this a few times and you're not used to it, it's going to trash you out, and it's going to be a problem. But I'm not your daddy. When I light it, I'll let you know. I'll be cool. Yeah. So,
famous last words.
Yeah, famous last words. So anyway, the lights go down. Kiss comes out. I'm in heaven. This is awesome for me. Me and Dave's into it heavy. I pull out the joint. I hit it. I look at Aaron. He doesn't realize I've got it out. I'm not going to let him know I got it. So I'm trying to sneak hit this joint, for he doesn't see me. Because I know the end results of heavy drinking followed by a joint when you're not used to it. He smelt it. And he was like, hey, let me hit that. Hit it easy. Don't hit it hard. You've been drinking. I know what I'm doing. All right. So I handed it to him. He hit it. He handed it back. About 3-4 times he hit it. I finished it off. He didn't want any more. I'm getting into it. I done put this joint out. smoked a cigarette. I'm looking, and I can tell he's getting high. And we're enjoying the show. About 3 songs in, he taps me on the shoulder. And I look over, and he goes, "Wake me up when Kiss comes out." And I looked at him, and I looked back at the stage, and Gene's standing right in front of me, and I was thinking,
Wake
when
up!
Kiss comes out, wake you up. And I turned to ask him what the hell he was talking about. And I turned around, and he's not there. There's another guy, and he's got this puzzled look on his face, stared back at me, like, what the fuck? And I was looking at him like, what the fuck? And I looked, and in a heap on the ground is a pile of Aaron. And I went, what the hell? And I lifted his head up, and he was breathing, but he's out cold. He passed right out. Now I got a lump of person sitting here. I looked back up at the stage, and now I'm thinking, show's over for me. You know, we can't just leave him. Now, for one, I didn't know nothing about concerts, but from what I heard at Joe Louis and Cobo, somebody passes out, you throw him over the wall, security picks him up, takes him for medical attention. So I nudged my buddy Dave. I was like, look at this. He passed out. He was like, I told you not to give him that joint. I was like, yeah. So we get on his belt loops, and we're trying to heave him over the wall. For security can take care of him. Security comes up and goes, you're not putting him over here. You brought him. He's your problem. And I was like, what the hell? So what are we going to do with him? He said, let's take him back and set him up in one of the seats, because there was a lot of empty seats. Prop him up in a seat and call it a day. And we'll come back and get back here. I said, if we leave the front of the stage, we're not going to get back. He said, well, if one of us stays here, Dave, that's not going to work. He was like, yeah, well. So we got him up, got one arm around my neck, and I got him by the belt loop. I said, I'll drag him back to the back. I'll put him in a seat. Then you're going to have to help me get back to the front row. He said, yeah, absolutely. So here I am dragging this guy through main floor crowd in Port Huron, dragging him through the crowd. In the process of dragging him through this crowd, I lost his shoe. I don't know where his shoe went. It just came off. I don't know. Well, I get him just outside of the thick part of the crowd, and he wakes up. Let your hands off of me. I can do it. I can stand up. I said, Aaron, you're wasted. You can't stand up. You're not standing up now. I'm holding you up. Get your fucking hands off of me, he told me. And when he said that, I was like, fine. So I got his arm off of my neck, and I stood him up. I said, there. You got it? He was like, yeah, I got it. And he straightened out his shirt, and he pulled at it and tugged at it and lifted his shoulders, and he looked me dead in the eye. He said, see, I could do it. And his eyes rolled back up in his head, and he fell forward, and the first thing that hit the ground was his face. Aww. Wham! And I just looked, and I said, holy shit, that's going to leave a mark, you know? So I roll him over, and when I roll him over, now he's got a bloody nose. His nose is bleeding pretty good. And I was like, God damn it. I said, where's Dave in all this fun? Why do I get stuck? So now I'm pissed. So I start looking for Dave. I go back to the front of the crowd. I said, Dave, he's down on the floor. He's got a broken nose. Broken nose? How'd he broke it? I told him. He fell down. He started fighting me. He's on the floor. He was like, whatever, let's get him. So we went and got him, picked him up. So now he's dripping blood and unconscious. We're dragging him through the crowd, trying to get him to the side for we can get him into a chair. As we're dragging him over to this chair section, we're stopped. The security guard spots us dragging him, unconscious and bleeding. And he comes up to us and he said, what's going on here? Is this young man drunk? I said, no, officer, he's not drunk. I said, heat exhaustion. We stood out in the cold for so long, and it's so hot in here, he passed out from exhaustion. And he grabbed him by the hair, and he lifted his head, and you could see his bloody nose. He said, what happened to his nose? I said, when he passed out, he hit the rail. He was in the front row. He looked at me, and he looked at Dave, and lifted Aaron's head, and he said, hey. Aaron's eyes opened up, and he went, and puked all over that cop. all down the front of him, all down his pants, up from his belly button down. And he started hollering, "Get him over to the garbage can." So we get him over to the garbage can, and he's puking up giant oatmeal cookie, chocolate peanut butter cookie from school, and Jack Daniels. And all you can smell is the Jack Daniels. The cop can smell it. We can smell it. He's vomiting. I'm thinking, at least he's not going to die tonight because he's purging himself. Yeah. The cop got so flustered by being covered in vomit, he walked away. He just up and walked away. He shook his head, mumbled something that I still don't know what he said, and he walked away. So I said, let's get him up into the seat before anything else happens. So me and Dave drag him up into the seating, put him in a chair, and we're sitting at the side of the stage now, babysitting this guy. He's out cold, head down, we're out. We're trying to enjoy the show, thinking, gee, it'd be nice if we was in that front row where we should have been. So then some young girls come and sat in front of us. We didn't know them, didn't know anything about them. And the security guards spotted them, told Gene about it. Gene come to the side of the stage while there was a solo going on and spotlighted them and told them, come on back. So me and Dave looked at one another and said, let's follow them, see if we can get through security, get in the back. So we followed these girls down to the thing, and they let the 4 girls in, and as I stepped up, they was like, whoa, whoa. I said, we're with them. And he looked at the last girl in line, and she looked back at me, and I went, hey, help, give us a hand here. And she went, yeah, they're with us. And he looked at the other guy, and the other guy said, yeah, whatever, go on. Well, they went right over to the stage. I knew not to be around any security. Well, the place was so small, there was no place to go. So we got back there, and within 10 minutes, they spotted us and threw us back out. So now we're back out front again, sitting with Aaron, passed out in his seat, dripping blood all over his shirt from his bloody nose. So we sit through the rest of this concert, and it's time to go now. So we decide to wait for the crowd to clear. So we're waiting for the crowd to clear, and we're trying to wake him up.
Waiting for the crowd to clear, spoken like someone who's gone to Detroit concerts.
Yeah, well, like I said, there was only probably 2,000 people at this particular show. So we hook him on by our belt loops and basically carried him out to the car and put him in a back seat and got the car running again. And now it's midnight. We're in Port Huron. We start driving back. Friday night, cold as shit. Missed half the concert because of Mr. Passout. I don't hold grudges. It is what it is, and it makes for a good story throughout the years. So, as we're driving back, coming back home, I glanced over at Dave and I said, how well you know this Aaron guy? He said, I don't know him, but so-and-so, the guy that was with us, he says, he lives in the same neighborhood. And I said, do we know where he lives? Dave looked at me, and I looked at Dave, and he looked in the back seat. He said, hey, you know where he lives? He said, well, no, not really. He said, I've seen him coming in and out of a house once or twice. He said, but, yeah, I don't know if it's his house. And I was like, shit. I said, check him out and see if he's got a wallet on him or it's got an address. So we looked. He didn't have a wallet. He had some money on him, but he didn't have anything that had his address on it. So now we're driving another hour back to Westland, trying to figure out what to do with this guy. So we're trying to wake him up. Guy in the back seat smacking him around. Hey, where do you live? Where do you live? He's not responding. It's so cold out. We've pulled up to the house where the guy in the back seat said, I think this is the house. And we were sitting there, and I said, well, all we can do is go dump him on the porch and ring the doorbell and make sure he gets in because it's too cold. If he stays there all night, he's going to die. So let's try that. So me and Dave drug him out of Dave's car all the way up to this. Now, this is, by then, it's probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We drag this guy up to the door, and we lean him against the door that we believe is his house. Get ready. I said, get ready to go. Rang the doorbell. Ding, 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 ding. And then I took my fist and I beat on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Really loud. And then me and Dave took off and ran back to the car and got in the car and squatted down in the car and we started watching and the lights in the house started opening, coming on. Pretty soon the front door opens, and as they open the front door, this guy, Aaron, falls in on him. Poof. And they're standing there, and one guy, he hollered, "Hey, Martha!" And it's a whole scene out of a movie. They come and they grab this Aaron guy and start pulling him in the house. Well, I'm thinking, he's in the house. Good. He's not going to die out here and freeze to death on our watch, So I assume since they drug him in, it was good. So
it was not good, was it?
We dropped him off. Dropped everybody else off. Dave dropped me off at my house. Said, "We'll see you Monday at school." Cool. Weekend went by. Everybody recovered. Went to school Monday, and Aaron wasn't there. He didn't show up the first day back. I was like, man, I'm surprised he didn't show up. I said, yeah, Mr. Passout ruined the party, and we started joking and teasing that way. So anyway, throughout the rest of the year, all the way until June when we got out, when we did see this guy, he would avoid us. And I was thinking, we went through a lot to make sure he got home safe. We took him on an adventure. And, he's blowing us off. Like, I don't get that. So we didn't think no more of it. We just figured it was his problem. Whatever his problem was, it's his problem. So anyway, we graduated high school. Now this is where it gets really bizarre. 20 years later, 2006, I'm sitting at my home and my phone rings. And it's my buddy Dave. Kept in touch all these years. Kiss fan, Kiss Army, Kiss friends. So I get this call. And I said, hey, Dave, what's up? He said, you going to be home? I said, yeah, I ain't going anywhere. He said, I got somebody who wants to talk to you. I said, really? I said, who? He said, I think I want to leave it as a surprise. And I said, all right. I said, coming over now? He said, yeah, we'll be there in about 15 minutes. I said, all right, I'll put some coffee on. So I told the wife, I said, put some coffee on. Dave's bringing somebody over. So I'm waiting for him to show up, and I'm looking out the window, and I see Dave's Jeep pull up. Dave gets out, and this blonde-haired guy gets out, and I'm looking at him, and I was like, I have not a clue who this guy is. And I can tell just by his mannerisms, he's a little sheepish about being here. And I was like, I wonder what this is all about. Now my curiosity is totally piqued. I'm wondering what's going on. So I meet him at the door, and Dave was like, hey, Paul. And he's got this big shit-eating grin. And he said, come on in. And the guy was like, hey, Paul, how's it going? And shook my hand. I said, oh, not bad. Not a clue who this guy is. Comes in, sits down, have coffee. He says, Dave goes, so, do you know who this is? I said, no. I said, should I? He said, does the words Mr. Passout mean anything to you? And I went, no shit, Aaron. And he said, yeah, it's me. And you could just tell he was uncomfortable big time.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, man, it's been a long time, all since that Kiss concert. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of why I'm here. And I was like, really? I said, what's going on? And Dave starts chuckling. Now he's straight up chuckling. And I'm like, what's going on? He said, Dave tells me, he says, Aaron called me about a week ago. And he had a bunch of questions for me about that night. And I said, he did? I said, what'd you tell him? He said, I told him he had to come talk to you. And I said, okay. I said, what's going on, Aaron? He said, I don't want to start anything, and I don't want to drag up, bad news from 20 years ago and let the past be. And he just started backpedaling before he ever started. And I'm like, well, okay, what? Get to it. What? He said, I was just curious as to what happened that night. He said, we was at the concert, and he said, the next thing I knew, I woke up at my grandparents' house the next morning, and you guys had beat the shit out of me and stole my shoe. And I had to sit there and explain to him, 20 years later, nobody hit you. You fell on your face. You lost your own shoe. You passed out. You threw up on a cop. And we sat and went through this whole story. After 20 years, he finally understood. Nobody touched him. Nobody beat him up at the Kiss concert. So for 20 years, he was telling this story, the same story that I just told, but he's been telling it from the point of view of, my friends took me to a Kiss concert, got me drunk, kicked the shit out of me, and dropped me off at my grandparents' house at 4 a.m.
Nah, man, you beat your own ass.
And that's the story of my first Kiss concert.